Did you know that in the Central African Republic, children are forced to fight wars as soldiers? The level of violence there is beyond imagination. In the Central African Republic, about 10,000 children are still caught in the crossfire, fighting alongside armed groups over a decade after the civil war erupted. The government's report reveals a tragic situation for these young lives. Firstly, here's some background on the facts. The Central African Republic, or CAR, which is rich in minerals yet impoverished, has been in conflict since 2013. The trouble began when Seleka rebels, mostly Muslims, took control and ousted then-President Francois Bozize. In retaliation, Christian militias fought back, causing chaos and suffering among civilians. It saw the worst of its times when Muslim rebels called Seleka took over the government. This led to fighting with Christian militias called Anti-Balaka. This conflict has resulted in over 3,000 deaths since December 2013. The UN reports that more than half of the population, about 2.5 million people, urgently need shelter, food, water, basic healthcare, and education. It was during this conflict that many children were forced to join armed groups, and it wasn't due to patriotism of any kind. Some of these kids were kidnapped while others joined for food, clothing, or protection. The people faced constant, unpredictable violence every day. Armed groups, security forces, and private military personnel often abuse civilians. Over 500,000 children aged 3 to 17 were either out of school or at risk of leaving school because there weren't enough qualified teachers and the schools were in poor condition. The Human Rights Division found 647 child victims of serious rights violations. Most of these cases involve children being used in armed conflict, having their physical safety and freedom violated, being held without proper reasons, and experiencing sexual violence related to the conflict. Recent estimates show that at least 168,000 children were forced to leave their homes because of violence before and after the general elections. About 70,000 of these children still can't go back home. Their situation, along with that of other displaced children, is very concerning. Many of them are separated from their families and face serious risks. Children have suffered the most from the violence, with women and children making up 80% of those displaced. According to UNICEF, 2 out of 5 children in CAR lack essential humanitarian aid. Many children have witnessed or experienced severe trauma, including the loss of family members, the destruction of their homes, and months of survival in harsh and unsafe conditions. According to Save the Children, the number of child recruits has increased significantly in the past 2 years. Reports now state that around 10,000 children are still involved with these groups, facing terrible life conditions. The United States has a peacekeeping mission in the country and estimates that the ongoing conflict has claimed thousands of lives and displaced over 1 million people, which is about 1/5 of the population. Despite a peace agreement in 2019 between the government and 14 armed groups, violence still persists. Ever wondered what it's like to be a child soldier? Save the Children reported that children as young as 8 are forced to work in combat roles, carry supplies, and do other tasks for armed groups. These kids often face physical and mental abuse from militants and are sometimes forced to commit violent acts. This exposure to violence leads to serious psychological problems like fear, anxiety, depression, and grief, making it crucial for them to receive specialized mental health support. These children urgently need long-term help to prevent themselves from rejoining armed groups. The major reason why children go back to these groups is because in CAR, extreme poverty, lack of education, and few job opportunities make it likely that they might be recruited again. Many children feel pressure from their peers or parents to join these groups to protect their communities or avenge the deaths of loved ones. In many parts of the country, armed groups control and terrorize communities, including targeting children for recruitment. Between July 1st, 2021 and July 30th, 2023, the United States reported 1,432 serious violations against children, with recruitment and use by armed groups being the most common issue. Girls face severe risks, including sexual abuse, early marriage, and early pregnancy. Thousands of children have been trapped by armed groups and subjected to sexual violence. These children also face malnutrition, which puts their health in great danger. Access to essential services is often limited for these children. Many have been separated from their families, leaving them without the support and care they need. Additionally, their education is often inadequate, which creates an uncertain future for them. Needless to say, this is unbearable for a child to tolerate. Are the organizations of the world staying silent while this inhuman situation occurs? Efforts are being made to rescue and help these children, but the situation remains difficult. International organizations and several NGOs have commenced their rescue operations. Despite rescuing 15,000 children, many remain traumatized. The United Nations is working to prevent child recruitment and help former child soldiers reintegrate by providing training programs. Leading these operations are former child soldiers whose wounds are yet to be healed. These children are being used as fighters, spies, messengers, cooks, and even sex slaves. What is the United Nations doing to help these children? In the Central African Republic, the rules of international humanitarian law clearly state that children must not be recruited into armed forces or allowed to participate in hostilities. They deserve special protection and respect during conflicts. The situation in Kar worsened in 2013, leading to intense clashes involving government forces and various armed groups. UNICEF reported that between 6,000 and 10,000 children were involved with these groups during this period. In 2015, efforts to restore peace included a national reconciliation forum organized by UNICEF and the United States peacekeeping mission in Kar called MINUSCA. This forum brought together government and armed group representatives, resulting in 10 armed groups pledging to release all child soldiers. During the 2015 forum, leaders of the armed groups committed to several actions: releasing all children, stopping the recruitment of minors, and granting UNICEF unrestricted access to their controlled zones to identify and secure the release of child soldiers. Between May 2015 and April 2016, around 6,300 children were released with the help of UNICEF, MINUSCA, and other partner organizations. To help child soldiers return to normal life, UNICEF and its partners created programs to reconnect with their families, offer psychological counseling, and support their reintegration into communities. These programs aim to heal the deep emotional scars and challenges these children face, making it easier for them to adjust to a peaceful life after their traumatic experiences. Do you think the organizations of the world are turning a blind eye to these children? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more factual videos.